So I'm here in Lost Battles, the Battle of Marathon, at Athens against the Persians, and we're coming into the 6th turn for the Athenian army, and there's not much left on the board, as we saw after a pretty crazy turn 5. I have a feeling, a nasty suspicion, that back in turn 4, when things started to rout and we got the first army morale check for the Persians, that the army morale check I did, the very first one, should actually have caused all the archers that were in this zone, there's one left there now, but all the levy archers should simply have withdrawn. I think they had 0 morale in a zone where another unit had shattered, which was one of these levy hoplites, that one there I think, up over there, and therefore 0 morale in a zone where a unit is shattered would have resulted in them being withdrawn because they weren't spent, they were still fresh. And that would obviously have changed the outcome of the game very significantly, because we wouldn't have ended up with this like crazy exchange of dice rolls and stuff here that resulted in a whole load of hoplites being routed and shattered and what have you. So the point about that is I think it reiterates something I said right at the start, is that the game is not very tolerant of rules mistakes. You get a modifier 1 out and you change the course of the game. However, that said, we're in a quite mad position, and that this position is not far-fetched. It's not like I've been like massively getting the rules wrong and ended up in a ridiculous, absurd position for the game system. Had the Persians had an extremely unlucky roll with that army morale roll, because they rolled a 1. Had they rolled a 2 or a 3, it wouldn't have even been a question, and they'd have actually been in a far stronger position because a lot of other stuff wouldn't have routed or withdrew. So this position is actually still completely viable given the system. It's just that particular thing was an error. So there you go. We're going to carry on from here. And here is quite a mad place. So the Athenians have got a large group of units in here, and then a hoplite over there, and a hoplite over there, and that's it. And the Persians have got a unit in here, a large group of units in here, and a couple of guys in there, and that's it. Both sides have now got a fighting value of 30 and therefore 3 commands, and the Athenians have to work out what to do with their 3 commands. Obviously, chewing up the stuff that's in front of them is probably the first order of business. So they are going to devote a command to activating this area, and then a command to a bonus on the initial dice roll for them. So that's spend 2 commands. Let's give but they're now attacking across the board out of here. They've got they're fighting a levy archer, so they've got a +3, and they've taken a bonus dice roll, so they've got a +4. Lead unit, fresh lead unit, fighting against a levy with a bonus, +4. And they've got a 9, +4 is 13, and that's going to completely shatter that archer unit without any, nothing else can happen there. And then they're going to prompt an army morale roll from the Persians. They get a 3. They've suffered, so that's on a D3, that's a 2. They've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units shattered, so that's a -1. But they're not outnumbered 2 to 1 or anything like that. The centre zones isn't against them anymore, so they're just on an army morale of 1. These guys are going to have +1s for being heavy infantry, and they're not going to have -1s for being levy. They're just going to have, the spent ones are just going to have -1s, so they're all actually going to be fine. This levy guy over here is, let's have a look at him. The army morale is 1. He is a spent levy, so he's heavy infantry, so he's on 2. He's a spent levy, so he's on 0. And he's actually got +1 for being 3 or more tiles away from the tile under attack. 1, 2, 3. So he's also fine. So we'll carry on with our attacking down here. Actually, what we'll do is roll some more commands. We've got 3 more commands, so we'll put them up to 4, and we're attacking this spent archer here. We've got 3. Actually, I think we could have 5 more attacks against it. We'll see how many more we need. So I think we're just on a +1 for it being a levy. 4. Okay, we'll give a unit a +2 by spending some commands. 6, 8. That still doesn't hit it. We'll carry on. That hits it, and that prompts this levy archer to be shattered as well. I think a commander in an area that doesn't have any units in it is withdrawn. So he's now gone, and that's another morale roll for the Persians, and they get another 2, and I don't think anything is going to be different there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're still only getting a -1 from the number of shattered units. And that is all she wrote for them. I think they can advance after combat. Why not? The last thing they want is to be attacked in the flank somehow. So let's advance them after combat. And that gives the Persians 2 more commands. And so they'll give this hoplite an express activation for 2 commands, and he will come through here and into here and try and sort of rejoin rejoin his commander over in this area. And that, I believe, is all that the Athenians can do. They're out of commands, and we now just have to adjust the fighting value of the Persians, because it's going to have dropped by another 4, I think. So they will now have 2 commands for their turn. So I've played out a couple more turns here at Marathon in Lost Battles, and what's ended up happening is that the Persian army has just moved away, essentially to disengage from the Athenian troops. The Athenians have got 5 fresh units. They're still dangerous for this group, who've only got 2 fresh units, and so there's no impetus on them to re-engage, and so the battle is going to end, because I could run 3 more turns of this, but all that these guys can really do is try and chase these guys about, and they can run away, and it's not going to go anywhere. So we've kind of petered out here, with both sides still having a viable army on the field, which is itself a really pretty interesting result. And the Athenians probably more willing to get to grips with the enemy still, and the Persians more wanting to play out the day and retreat in good order. And so with that, I've done the calculation for the victory points, and that's here. So you calculate the total value of spent, withdrawn and routed units for the enemy, and Athens scored 37 points for that, Persia 27. You get a bonus point for routed units, so Athens got +6 and Persia got +5. Then you get twice the fighting value for shattered units. Athens scored 26 there, Persia 36. And that meant there was sort of one difference in it, 69 to 68. But then the side with the lower fighting value gets a handicap bonus of 3 times the difference. So Persia got 12 points, and the final scores were 69 to Athens and 80 to Persia. And that would be a very, very marginal Persian victory. Anything less than 18 is a minor victory, anything more than 18 is a clear victory, anything over 36 is a major, decisive victory. So this 11-point victory for Persia is a minor triumph for them to hold off this stronger Athenian army and come away still with a viable army. Wow, yeah, that was disappointing that I made the rules error. But I only realised it a couple of turns later, and by then, we were in that crazy situation where most of the armies had been wiped out. Too late to reverse it. And as I said only a few minutes ago, a better dice roll, 2 and 3 times they get a better dice roll, and the game ends up somewhere like this. It's just I happened not to spot that those units should withdraw, and it does have a profound effect on the outcome. But I think what we ended up with a more entertaining playthrough, even if it wasn't the one that dice roll says we should have got. So there you go, swings and roundabouts. I'll try not to make a similar mistake in the next battle. I'm not sure which one the next battle is going to be, but I'm intrigued to carry on with this, really interested to carry on with this and see where it goes. So I'm not going to fight Marathon again. I've done Marathon 3 times now, and I'm keen to push on into a different battle.